Quick settings are now here. Yeah, and then it takes forever to connect everything, especially LinkedIn.
Of course.
LinkedIn just goes. There's like a little circle with a little progress bar around each stream destination.
Yup.
And then the live stream like Riverside link is the same. Let me add it to the Discord. I was
Ooh,
playing with the
excuse me.
USB Army knife, so we can talk about that
Oh,
to
nice.
get things warmed up.
I was playing with a different knife that came in while I was away.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it turned out to be Ultim Day, so I got my little Ultim. Uh-oh, we have new pets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we are in fact live.
cool. Yeah, you might introduce me to pets. Ready?
What is in there? Pets? You got some birds?
Oh, let's not have that fall off the desk.
Yeah. What'd you get? Some chicks? Larry's got some chicks. Nice.
Yep. Yep, that they are. Ooh.
That's awesome. Well, let's get things started. Again, this is a very informal thing. Welcome to the second inaugural Hacker Syndicate beta live stream, as I like to call it. Larry Pesci has joined
Yeah,
me today. Welcome, Larry.
yeah. Welcome, and yeah, awesome. Fun
Right?
stuff. Yeah,
It's good
like
stuff, man.
totally unscripted, off the record,
That's
or on
right.
the record, as the case may be, and yeah,
Hmm.
lots of fun.
I like that. Unscripted and on the record. That could be our tagline.
Oh,
I like it.
yikes!
With no supervision.
I mean, I have to supervise. No, I'm not going to supervise
Yeah.
you.
I
That's
didn't even, I didn't even switch to my really nice microphone either. Whatever.
oh well. Hey.
I think it sounds
Oh,
fine. Hey,
and
Josh Moppet.
we only got half of them though,
Yeah, you need to center your camera.
and we can't hear you. So,
Well, there's that.
can you hear me now? Whoa, whoa,
Oh, there
um,
he is. We can see him. Can we hear him? My
nope.
shirt to say I use Arch, by the way. Oh, he's gonna come back. It's fine.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
I was hoping Adrian would join us. We'll see. I'm gonna go hold
I mean,
Adrian.
I picked a good shirt too. Jim McMurray's
Mm.
former company, Milton Security, but well, it's just been rebranded. But the Bash
I still have that one.
one three
That's a
three
There we
seven.
go.
classic. Hey, there he is. What's up,
There he
Josh?
is.
Okay,
Hey,
what's going on?
hey, Josh, your shirt looks
Welcome
like it's
to
a little
the
greasy.
yeah Hacker Syndicate live stream show.
My shirt looks like what?
It's a little greasy.
I've been outside
No,
fixing my gutters.
it says GRSEE greasy.
Yeah, greasy. I told them the name was kind of stupid, but what the hell do I know?
You
They
know
gave
what?
me a shirt.
You know what I really hate though? I was trying to do some 3D printing. So I'm 3D printing these little baskets that I printed for my humidor.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Um, and they're stackable humidor trays. And I have this. Let's see if I can share my screen. Let's see if I can show you. Let's go share. I tested this earlier. Screen
And this is why the show is called in beta.
in beta. Share.
It should just always leave it beta, like
Share.
Gmail.
I know,
Is
right?
Gmail still beta?
I
No,
think
no.
we should make it beta for a while. I mean, why not?
6, 7 years.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see that little tray, like a little
Yeah.
fancy humidor stack, and they're like little tabs on the top, so you
Yep.
can stack them, which is awesome. Um, but my other printer, it said it completed. Which one was that? I think it was this one. I think it was Serial Killer. It was like, oh yeah, I printed that for you, and the build plate was empty. I think my filament was not loaded correctly,
And so it
Oh,
and
printed it.
somehow
Just
the
with zero
A1 Mini
filament.
like didn't sense that, and it just started trying to print it, which is probably really bad. That my what do they call that?
the hot end.
The hot end. Yeah, the hot end was hot with no filament in it, which is why I keep spare hot ends just in case when they go on sale
Oh.
on Bamboo site. Yeah, so I printed a ghost stackable humidor tray.
Ah.
Oops.
It just identifies as a trans case.
That's it.
Transparent.
Transparent. I did print some.
Oh,
Oh, I printed some stuff in transparent mode.
Nice.
I had some transparent PET G,
Nice.
and I printed a tackle
ooh.
box. So I'm printing like a bunch of like a little tackle box. You know,
Oh,
like the
put
like
a
a
hole in the box.
yeah, no, you know, like the trays that you use for like general storage. You know
Yep.
what I mean? You can like print those. I'm also printing rod holders. Yeah, some rod. Oh, so I printed one of these. Yeah, a tackle
Okay.
tray. I
Okay.
mean, you can get these obviously really cheap. Harbor Freight has them. But I was like, I kind of want to print one. And yeah, I printed the lids in translucent PET G. And I did the case in PLA in black. And I was like, I don't know if I want to put lures in it. I kind of want to use this to put my USB devices in it so I don't lose them.
Nice.
So I don't have that. It's in the other room, but yeah. So that was pretty cool. So doing some 3D printing stuff.
Nice. I'm trying to electrify my garage, or automate my garage. You ever
Nice.
seen you ever seen Open Garage?
No.
Oh,
Open garage.
OpenGarage.io.
Oh, I got to show you where did I Oh, dude, you got to print this then. You got to print this. Hold on, now I got to share my screen again.
Okay.
Hold on. Sharing. You got to print the honeycomb storage wall. Dude,
Yeah.
these things are awesome. Now, be careful, they're not all compatible with each other. Like
Okay.
people that make the model files don't always make them like to a standard. So, I printed one that hangs on the side of my Bamboo X1 Carbon,
Yeah.
and I put all my tools, for 3D printing. Scrapers, pliers, nozzle
That's pretty cool.
nozzle cleaners, right?
Would you print a bin for it or something, or
What's that?
would like a print a little tool bin to put all your tools in, or does each
Oh
one
yeah,
have?
I printed that too. The front of my so I have risers on my P1S and my Bamboo X1 Carbon
Nice.
that raise the AMS up and give you two drawers in it to store stuff. So I have four drawers to
Really
store all the
nice.
little accoutrements, and then those AMS risers have hooks or like adapters on the side, and so people may print files that hang on the side. So I hung the honeycomb storage on one side. You can get spool holders. You can get all kinds of different things to hang on the side. It really, but for like your garage though, you can totally print these. PLA probably be fine. I mean, you probably want to do it in PET G, but PLA would probably be fine, depending on like how hot, I guess, your
Yeah.
garage gets. But still, it's not gonna melt because
No.
like
Oh,
the
that's
melting
pretty
temperature
cool.
is really
I
high. Yeah.
will. I'll have to look at that. No, right now I'm just trying to automate a few things. I want to. My garage door openers are so old that they're on a frequency not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I can't get openers for them.
Oh.
And
Well, I
what?
mean, arguably you could get openers for them. It's called the Hacker F,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and,
I
and, and
can.
let me guess, they probably also don't have rolling codes. So,
This is a problem. So what I want to do is set it up with a Wi-Fi system, which again is not built in, but Open Garage has a distance sensor to tell you whether it's open or closed.
Oh yeah.
As
Tilt.
well.
I had the tilt sensor on mine.
Right, but
Yeah.
this is actually an IR, an
Oh,
infrared
okay.
sensor. So
Yep.
you can actually mount it from the top to tell you if your car is there,
Hmm.
and if your car is there, your car is in the garage, or you can mount it from facing the door to tell you because it'll tell you the
Doors open.
distance to the door, and
Yeah.
it'll say the distance is 10 feet or 100 feet to the nearest tree or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So then you know if the door's open or closed. And so I bought one just to try it. My problem is the garage door opener again is so, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the transmitter pigtail off the thing when it's done, so that way nobody can activate it improperly, shall we say. And I'll just have, they have apps with Blink and with a couple of other cloud connectors, so that you can use your phone as your garage door opener and to test it to see if your garage is open or closed. So that's what I'm looking to do, considering I have, 5 garages. It's expensive replacing all the friggin' openers.
Oh heck yeah, it is.
They're what, $1,000 each
So
or something?
apparently I can show my messages on the stream. That's pretty funny. Welcome, Marco's watching live.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that cool?
Like
Cool stuff.
people, same like when we started the other podcast forever ago. Like people actually show up and listen.
I know, right? It's
What?
crazy.
What?
So
It's
wait,
crazy.
I had a question for your history here. What was the original name of the first episode of that podcast?
Episode 1.
What? Well, yeah, episode 1. Yeah.
I don't
No,
think we.
Was it paul.com.com back then, or?
It was
Yeah.
Paul.com Security Weekly.
Yep.
Cool.
Because that's my nickname was. It stems from my nickname that I got in around the time I was working for UWin, right, which is the internet lottery company that the lottery company here in Rhode Island had spun up, and my friends were working there, who are now my family, because my so this is weird. So my friend John, who I went to, let's see, we called it junior high because we're old, right? Junior high, high school, so private high school. So we were in a public junior high, private high school, went to college together, and worked our first 2 jobs together.
Oh,
So this
geez.
was our second job working together. He's like, dude, come over to UWin. And there was a whole bunch of mutual friends there that we called ourselves U Beer because the company was called UWin, and we like to get together and drink beer, so we called ourselves U Beer.
I
Right.
remember that.
Yeah. And those bunch of guys nicknamed me Paul.com because I was such a nerd and always talking about nerd stuff. They're like, bring Paul.com. Where's Paul.com? And that was my nickname. And then the whole saga where I tried to get the domain, didn't get the domain. I ended up buying Paul.com.com all spelled out, and then, trademark and all that stuff after. But that's how we. So I was like, oh, I have a domain for our podcast. It's paul.com.com. Larry's like, that's hilarious. I'm like, let's just go with it. And that's what we went with.
Yep.
That was probably literally the amount of thought and conversation we had about it, too.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, that might have been too much.
Yeah,
Hey,
right?
hey, I've got a domain. What are we going to call it? The domain's paul.com. So, all right. Done.
Yep, done. So,
You're funny.
yeah. So episode 1 was 2005 in October in the restaurant that spun around in
Yep.
Los
Los
Angeles.
Angeles. Yep.
Because
Where the Sands
Hurricane
Conference
Katrina,
was.
yeah.
Yep.
Katrina took out New Orleans, so we had to move to Los Angeles, and that was episode 1.
Yep. And was it? Why am I drawing a blank? Mike Yaffe at True
Yes.
Security bought the beer.
Yes.
Yep.
We need to find someone to sponsor this live stream now once we get it going.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And
So-
and episode 2 was Marty Resch, because after the podcast we went and actually sat over in one of the seats of the revolving bar, and we were talking about how excited it was that we recorded a podcast. And sitting behind me was a woman that overheard the conversation, like, "Oh, you guys
Yeah.
do a podcast?" We're like, "Yeah, we do." "Oh, my boss loves podcasts. Would you like him to come on your show?" Like, "Yeah, who's your boss?" "Oh, Marty Resch."
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that.
Yeah.
That's-
And guess who that person was?
Who?
That ended up being sitting behind us. She's the CEO of a cybersecurity company today.
Yep. Yeah.
Be Jennifer Sunshine Steffens.
No way.
That's who's the person sitting behind
Oh
us.
crap! I owe her an email. I forgot. Damn it. Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me.
So thank you, Jen, for supporting us.
Yeah.
Oh, Jen's
from
awesome.
literally day 1. So
Yep. I think she's fully switched over to using Sunshine.
yeah.
Yeah, she really
That's
has.
how I see all of her LinkedIn and stuff just as Sunshine. So
So okay,
Outstanding.
so let's
What are we going to talk about next?
let's play.
I have a thing. You
Go
want to see
for
my? You want to see my dongle?
Oh man,
Yeah, I literally do have a dongle. It's kind of small, but
We've heard
this
that about
is
you.
this is whatchamacallit,
Is
a
that a Liligo?
T dongle, LilyGo T dongle S3.
Okay.
So it has a screen, and if you see it has an SD card reader
cool.
in it.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting notification that my Wi-Fi connection to it failed. I haven't gotten it fully working, but I've made some progress. So I
What?
got
So
I got
tell me about it. What is it?
so this runs the firmware someone wrote is called the USB Army knife.
Oh, right. We did a
So
story on that a
it's
few weeks ago. Yeah.
it's basically a rubber ducky now. That and I can plug it back in, and hopefully my Wi-Fi will reconnect to it. And so you can do USB HID attacks with it, just like a ducky. It then deploys an agent, and then that agent will connect back over the Wi-Fi on the USB Army knife. So you actually connect. Oh, let me see if my Wi-Fi. Yeah, my Wi-Fi is connected, which means if I go here and then share my screen again, entire screen, share. There's a lot of clicking to share your screen. So this is the interface. So over I'm connected to the Wi-Fi network that it created,
Right.
and it has a specific IP address 4.3.2.1, and it has a
That's
whole
on my luggage combo. Damn it.
right, and then it has the whole like interface that I can mess around with, and so I got a pre-compiled version of the agent and did all the steps, and it should execute, but it's not running. So there's that.
Okay.
So I can't like run commands or connect to the agent. You can get like my VNC it's not going to connect because
Are you on the wrong
my
port?
yeah
Or,
my
I mean,
agent
8080.
no.
Okay, so you're,
I think the agent doesn't run, and there's a way to debug it, which I haven't. I ran out of time.
the agent says not connected. Where's
Yeah.
the agent? Where's the agent configuration?
Well, see, this script right here
Uh-huh.
should run the agent, and that script exists. Yeah.
Did you write
'cause
that script?
No, I got it from. So now there's like a million tabs. So where's the installation tab? Tool. Oh, installation. So we should start here. Flashing with a web browser. That's the option. I
Well,
didn't. I mean,
that sounds like just going to RedTube or, anyway.
yeah. I mean, I could have used Platform. I do have Platform IO configured on my system, and I could have used that. But I was like, oh, I'm kind of in a hurry. So you format the SD card, and then you download the latest code, which was weird. I think I had to be logged into GitHub to get the download links
Weird.
because he has a GitHub action that builds it based on Platform IO. Like I've done this in Platform. You can configure Platform IO to go compile this code and deploy it for these devices and have profiles for each of those devices. So he must have a Platform IO configuration that builds it for all these devices.
Nice.
So if you got the LilyGo T-Dongle S3, you can download the firmware binaries.
Right, and overwrite the firmware onto that thing, right?
Well, no, not quite. So then once you do that, then you gotta download this other file, bootapp.bin. I don't know what that does, but it's some other part of the firmware, the bin file part of the firmware. Then you go to an ESP web flasher like this one, right? And mine's not connected, but then you have to tell it to install all those files. So you'll get a screen that looks like this, and you have to say, okay, I want you to put partitions.bin at this offset in all these files at this specific offset. Then once you do that, you click program, and it dumps all of the firmware in all those pieces, right? It doesn't have a unified firmware file yet.
So, I mean, let me be blunt. Tell me why I'd buy this instead of just a rubber ducky.
Well, I mean, if you want to just be up and running,
Rubber
and just
ducky's
do
the way
it,
to go.
you would buy a rubber ducky.
Okay, just
Yeah.
checking. Just
Yeah.
checking.
If you want to experiment with stuff,
This is a great way to do it.
This is a
and
great way.
the ESP32 experience as well, which is nice.
Mm.
They're running the world these days, for God's sakes.
so I did manage to get the firmware on it, and it runs it, which is great. And then I fell down when I did the agent. because the agent you have to you have to run all these commands on Linux, right? And then this creates an agent.img and puts it on your SD card.
Right.
But then you need the auto run. There's another thing. Oh yeah, you need this. You need this autorun.ds file. That's the file I was trying to run on the thing that runs the agent via this script, right? And I believe it runs this script over USB HID, right? So this is like a Ducky script that executes a payload.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice, nice, nice.
that's kind of what I'm uncovering. Yeah, and then there is a way to debug it, which I didn't get into. You can also build the agent yourself if you're going to use a .NET SDK.
Right.
But a link right here had the pre-built ones.
You're going down just a few rabbit holes here, my friend.
This was some rabbit holes, man.
Yeah,
right?
serious rabbit holes. But like
Yeah.
to do this step, you need these 3 tabs, 14 files, and 6 steps. You know.
Yes. Yeah. And the documentation's not great. It's kind of all over the place. Like I had to hunt for, like I need the documentation that tells me to do the next step. Like where is that? I had to like hunt for it, which is.
I love the
Yeah.
fact that at the end of the instructions are, do not attempt this step until you've done this. Thank you, jackass.
Right? Yeah. Well, so this apparently, you can blow your eFuse. There's an eFuse on this device, and it says the bootloader initially sets the device as a USB serial adapter. The Army knife then reconfigures it as USB. Process might cause some issues. People reported that blowing the USB PHY SEL eFuse increases USB compatibility by disabling the bootloader from becoming a USB device. I'm like, well, that's
A mass storage
interesting.
device. It's still a USB device, but it's an
Yeah.
HID device, not a mass storage device. Oh my God.
And so yeah, so now you're burning. So you're programming an eFuse, which is a one-time operation, and setting a value inside the eFuse.
Dude.
That's why it says don't do this until it's been flashed, because if that eFuse is set before you do the installation,
You're fucked.
it says it will prevent you from flashing your device outside of OTA mode. So so it has an over-the-air
Over-the-air
update. So
mode,
you
yeah.
won't be able to flash it. I think it prevents it from going into USB serial mode if you blow away this eFuse.
That would make sense because
Yeah.
it's that wow.
So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That
Yeah,
sounds.
probably a good call.
I do have 2 of these. I can't find my other one. I have 2 of these somewhere. They're not
You're
very
saying you have
expensive.
so many gadgets you can't find some of them?
Yeah, but that's why I printed the tackle box. 'Cause I guess and I've spent money at Harbor Freight and all the little storage bins. They've got great storage bins for not a lot of money, and I bought a bunch of them.
God almighty.
Yeah.
I swear I'm
So
doing
that's
such
where I'm at with
boring
that.
stuff. I mean, I'm doing the open garage to try to get my garage set up on my phone rather than on openers.
Yeah.
I'm doing what else am I doing in the technological world? I'm playing with Home Assistant to try to set up a Z-Wave based alarm system in my house.
hmm
And I'm cleaning gutters. It's not
And you're
acceptable.
using Arch, by the way.
Yeah, I am. And actually, Mark Macro had a great question. What's the state of gaming on Linux? He's
Mm.
using Arch, but he's wondering if Arch or Debian is better. And I think it's probably Arch is better.
Probably, because you're gonna want to run. I haven't really looked into it. You're
The
gonna want
latest
to run.
graphics drivers.
Well, you're gonna run Proton,
That's a good point.
right? So just like the Steam. So I would say Arch because the Steam Deck is based on Arch, and that team is the
Oh,
one working
wait,
on
please?
Proton in
Do you
order
think that
to
he could
allow you
get-
to run Windows games.
Do you think you could get Steam OS on something other than a Steam Deck? And
You
because
can. That's kind of wonky right now, but I heard it's possible.
so that way, if you get Steam OS on,
There's a YouTube video of someone doing it. It may be what is that? Linus Tech Tips. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
has
yeah,
a video
absolutely.
on it,
Yeah.
and there's like challenges because your hardware doesn't match
the Steam Deck's
the
hardware.
Steam Deck's hardware, so there's challenges. I forget. I listened to a podcast and they were talking about it.
But
Yeah.
Proton would really actually like it emulates. As I understand it, Steam Deck is pretty. I'm eager to get one of these days. I keep watching
I
for
have a
refurbished
Steam Deck.
ones.
I don't do a lot of gaming.
I did, but I don't have time anymore with two small children. I like if I want to do anything technical, I don't have time for gaming. But I've heard
Yeah.
Steam OS is possible, but not recommended. Yeah, I agree, Macro. I mean, it's possible that you can. I mean, but if you can get Proton working, you can use almost any game on Steam, as I understand it.
Right.
So it's not just the five Linux games or whatever. Uh, you can use most of the games on Steam, if not almost all of them. Steam Deck
Yeah.
is pretty impressive from what I've seen.
So it looks like you can do it on Arch, and you have to install. I don't know. This is according to uh, the internet. The internet according to Perplexity. And so Perplexity told me when I said I want to do gaming on Manjaro, how to install Proton and run games. It's like you got to do Steam first,
That's fine. That's easy.
then you got to do Proton, then Lutris for non-Steam games. I've heard of that before. Game mode for better performance. Install game mode. It
Yeah.
gives you like a little summary table.
Okay, so then
So
um, you've got a Steam OS. Is it a container? No, no. It would be
I think it's an emulator.
it's an emulator. Okay, so then it's an application effectively.
Yeah.
You run the Steam, so because it says Steam OS, so I keep thinking it's an operating system. So sorry.
SteamOS is just Arch with Proton, from
Okay,
what I
so if you're already
understand.
running Arch and you can install Proton,
Yep.
then you can try running. Okay, so give that a shot, Macro. Install Proton and
Well,
then see
first
what.
you gotta get the latest stable release of Manjaro installed, which is a huge pain in the butt. It is the biggest pain in the butt release that they've had in a long time.
Why? What's going on? Like,
Because
tell
they
me what happened when
broke,
you did that.
they removed Electron 32. Well, they upgraded libxml, which broke dependencies for Electron 32 and Electron 33. And there's a bunch of apps that relied, like my MailSpring app, relied on
Hmm.
Electron 33. But I was using the
Oh.
MailSpring-bin package, which was like an upstream package of the MailSpring package. But they were essentially they were the same version from what I could tell. So all I did was I uninstalled MailSpring-bin, and I installed MailSpring, and
The
then
native.
magically everything worked. And like I double checked. So when you do use PA macro pacman to remove a package, it
Hmm.
doesn't remove your .config directory. So like all my mail config was still there. I was just swapping out the binary basically, and it read from my config and everything was fine.
So what's interesting is that Windows is a monoculture. Like you've got
Hmm.
Windows now 11 coming up because if you have Windows 10, oh my God, it's going away. And Mac is a monoculture. You've probably got one of the last four versions of Mac on your laptop or something. But Linux is so not. Uh,
Correct. Well, that and
Manjaro is a role.
that's a double-edged sword. That was what someone was commenting on my latest tree of which operating system you should use. And they're like, yeah, like applications don't work on Arch Linux. And I think you pointed out, or Sam was pointing out on the podcast that like Linus says because we have all these freedom to package software however we want on a distro, that's what's holding us back.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's holding us back because it's hard to keep everybody moving consistently forward. So we move at the speed of our slowest member, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But it is also an incredible advanced testing lab, if you think about it. Like
Well, also
Manjaro's rolling release.
there's no bloat, right? There's no ads. There's no sending stuff back to a mothership.
Right. That's the biggest thing. The first time that somebody puts a Linux mothership in. Now, Canonical, to a certain extent, can do that. They have stuff that they receive back, feedback from their Ubuntu installations.
Right.
But
It's an
everybody,
opt-in.
it's an opt-in, and everybody knows about it, and we all know what goes on there, and so it's not bad. And you can turn it off. You can revoke that permission. It's not like, oh, they hide it 17 levels deep like some people do.
Right.
You can opt
Right.
in or out of that. It's no big deal. But I think that it's interesting.
The other thing with Arch, I had a couple tabs open. So my Slack desktop also broke.
Oh shit! Really? Wait,
Yeah,
my Manjaro Slack is working fine.
I don't know why. That's interesting that mine broke and yours didn't.
Huh.
So my trick to getting software to work on Arch Linux is when a package Slack was basically core dumping, right? I click the icon, I get like the little spinny thing, and then it goes away, and I'm like, usually that means it's core dumping. So I
Hmm.
go to the command line, I go to open a terminal, and just run Slack, and then I see segmentation fault core dump. I'm like, well, that's bad. So my first step is
That's
to
bad.
run. Uh, if you do PA Mac build, I use
Mhm.
the Manjaro tools. I'm sure there's ways to do this in um, with just whatchamacallit, Pac-Man.
Right.
I don't know how well you can see that,
I can see
but
it.
I can do Pac-Man build Slack dash desktop.
Right.
Now I won't do that because I mean I could run it again and it's probably fine, but that will rebuild the package and update its dependencies.
Will it rebuild the package, meaning it'll go and grab a new copy of it, or it will simply use the source that it's got to rebuild?
It'll rebuild it. In my update script, there's a thing that tells you uh, to rebuild. Oh, that's to rebuild them, but you can do check rebuild. So after you do an update, check rebuild. I don't think I have to run that as root. Check rebuild will tell you which packages have to be rebuilt based on your latest update because some
Right.
library changed.
Right.
This
Right.
is
Right.
particularly important if Python gets updated, right? It's gonna yeah. You can see I've got some packages that might need to be rebuilt.
Extension Manager, Microsoft Edge, Python, Text Engine, VMware
Yeah.
Workstation, and Zoom. Yeah, it might be.
These
Yeah.
always come up, but I think their dependencies are baked in, so they're always gonna come up as needing to be rebuilt.
It might be that their dependencies are baked in or done that deliberately so that
Right.
you you're tempted to run them only on
Yeah,
Windows.
so you can see in my script, I don't enable this by default, but it'll run, um, it'll run this command and like automatically rebuild all the things that need to be rebuilt. That's what that does. So it runs check rebuild, takes the second column, which is the package name, and runs it through PMAC build. Yeah.
As I'm
So,
realizing you can't hear me because I'm like, that's nice. I like that. That's cool.
right? So the trick is when you've got, so Slack was core dumping. And so what you do is you come to the Arch Linux repository for that package, and then there's comments here, and oftentimes other people have encountered the same problem, and you give you workarounds until such time the package maintainer can actually fix it,
That's it.
right?
Nice.
So this serves as a notification to whoever's maintaining this package to go, hey, look, your latest update broke shit, dude. And so the fix here was to run Slack with GTK version equals 3. So something with GTK that was breaking it. And so Slack runs fine as long as so I'll run it like that until the package maintainer figures it out, and then we're off to the races.
Nice.
Yeah, here I'm about to give a talk on how great the Linux desktop is, and then Manjaro releases this huge release. I'm like, oh shit!
And breaks everything on you. Yep.
Pretty much breaks everything on me.
But everything's up to date now, right? You've got all the latest versions, right?
Yeah, and I updated Grub,
Hmm.
which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's in here. So I don't know if you did this, Josh, but there's if you RTFM, goes back to so this is there's been 2 rounds of updates to Grub because of those things we talked about on the podcast,
Oh Jesus!
right?
Right.
Remember, Grub had like 80 vulnerabilities, and all the Linux distributions have been working since February to backport all as many of those fixes as they can or want into Grub, repackage Grub, and then release it in their distribution, right? But I'm not sure if this is every Linux distro, but the way Manjaro works, I'm assuming Arch, when Manjaro updates the Grub package, the actual installed binaries in the master boot record or UEFI won't get updated. So you get a new grub package, but it doesn't update your running bootloader for you
Oh
because it's
shit.
like, whoa, wait, you got to do that on your own. We're not touching your bootloader because sometimes you bork your bootloader, your system's not going to boot, right?
Right.
Also, if you've got secure boot enabled and you haven't updated your DBX, then or your SBAT, that your new bootloader may not be could be in the revocation list or not in the DB or allow list, which means secure boot's going to halt and say I can't because your grub is either not in the DB or in the DBX.
That's pretty cool.
And so this, so they've got both a manual way and a package that you can install. The package is called install-grub, and that's basically a script that just walks you through and updates your bootloader for you, and then you reboot and make sure it works. And so that's what I did. So I ran that on one of my laptops first, like let's make sure this works. And then when I did it on this system, I took a SHA-256 hash of both bootloaders. There's like a primary bootloader and a backup bootloader,
Right.
and it was actually the same bootloader, which is interesting. So I took hashes of before and after I updated Grub, and I got new hashes to verify that it actually copied over a new bootloader, and then I rebooted and it worked, which is pretty amazing. But make sure you read the fine thread, RTFM. Every time Manjaro issues a stable update, there is an entry on their forum that contains all of this information, including this whole thread, right, that was updated just 8 hours ago. People posting, like, all questions about, hey, like, I upgraded and, like, stuff went sideways, or I don't understand this.
My machine caught on fire, whatever.
Yeah, and
Little
there's,
stuff.
like, a ton of posts about Electron dependencies and stuff. So then you got to read through all the user comments and look for any gotchas, right? Yeah, this is the libxml update that broke everything. Not everything, but a lot of things. So,
Christmas. No, I mean, I'm still waiting. I have gotten so much installed on Manjaro Linux, but I'm still waiting for OBS Studio to work properly.
yeah, did you look into recompiling that?
Yes,
Ugh.
it is.
Ugh.
What is the
CMake.
word?
Ugh.
Ungodly.
Yeah. Because they don't have build instructions for Arch.
Right. So
They have
I'm
build
gonna say
instructions for
no.
Debian and Debian-based systems and something else. So what you'd have to start with, my advice to you was going to be there's like 3 different sections of dependencies. There's build dependencies and runtime dependencies for OBS. You have to take the apt-get install these packages. You have to translate that to the packages that would be the equivalents on Manjaro or Arch.
Not that bad.
Which
but
an LLM, you could paste that into an LLM, and it would probably be fairly. I mean, it might hallucinate, so that you gotta, take that with a grain of salt.
right.
But I would ask, like, Perplexity, hey, I'm installing software, I'm compiling software, and it has this as a prerequisite for Debian-based systems. Please translate what packages these correspond to in Arch-based distros, and it would give me a command, and then I have to run that and see if I got any errors. But I didn't start going on it because I don't use the live camera feature in OBS. But I get it. You want to have pretty backgrounds and layouts, and if you do that, you need the virtual camera
So I can
to
export
be
it.
able
So I
to
can-
have the yes.
Yeah, so I can have it here. So I can have it in, Zoom and Teams
Right.
because I live on frigging Zoom, Teams, Google Meet,
Yeah.
Chime. You bloody well, Blue Jeans.
I've used Blue Jeans before. I think I used that on Linux. I think
Yes.
it works on Linux. Yeah.
But like I live in conference calls and it drives me nuts because then I have to do my work at night. But I live in conference calls.
Yeah.
And I've been on only 4 so far
Well, you
today.
could just build a background in your studio, then you don't have to do that anymore.
But I like being able to switch backgrounds.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
No, I
have
know. Yeah, it's just
backgrounds for every
preference.
show I'm on. I have backgrounds for like the only reason I'm here in my dining room instead of actually in my office, my green screen, is because I was like the power cut out because it was raining so hard it popped the breaker for the garage.
Oh.
So, I had and actually, so I have the worst electrical setup known to mankind. I will explain this to you. This is funny. Larry will get a disgusted expression on his face shortly. So,
Please tell me you replaced fuses with pennies and
well, no, you got to wrap the pennies in aluminum foil first.
right.
Uh, they don't exactly fit unless you wrap them in aluminum foil. And the fact that I know that is terrifying. But no, what happened is we have a detached garage. They buried 2 strands of Romex, and one runs the garage door openers, and one runs the lights and outlets in the garage. So there's 2 15-amp breakers for an entire 3-car detached garage. And wait, it gets better. On the outside of the garage, both of those come up into an external outlet box, which is a GFCI.
Hmm.
And if the GFCI pops, all of everything in the garage dies. I told you, Larry would have a disgusted. He's even got spinach coming out of his mouth. He's so disgusted.
I know, disgusting, right?
So like, it's. I need to rebuild that so badly. It's not even funny, but I need to trench. I need to replace panels downstairs. I've got $5,000 worth of electrical work to do here and 10,000 whatever. So that'll happen eventually. But yeah, I was like, screw this. I came in the house. It is. You buy a house. You buy all the things you need to do to the house, right?
Yep.
How long have you
Exactly.
been in your house, Larry?
We've been here close to 25 years, but it's the second house. So
Wait, what do you? In the
we-
same spot?
yeah, in the same spot. A little over 10 years ago, we actually demoed the house that was here, completely down, new foundation, put up a new house. Like
See, I didn't say take the fucking house down.
that's what we had to do. That is literally what we had to do because
See,
it was.
I think
it was that bad.
I think I messed up by
What'd you mess up?
the stream doesn't have our video. It's
What?
just blank on LinkedIn.
This is just audio.
It's just audio on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Huh.
it told me that was only audio. I'm like, okay, interesting choice, but whatever.
I think because I set the stream to 1080 as opposed to 720. And
Oh,
I
well, then it's
definitely.
not even recording the local video when I got.
I
locked
don't
in.
think it'd be interesting if I could change that on the fly, but I don't think I can change that on the
I don't
fly.
think you can change that on the fly.
No.
So,
I mean, I can try. No, I can't.
so let's see. So
This is why it's a beta live stream.
This is beta.
We're learning
Yeah.
as we go. So don't set it to 1080. Set it to 7. Did we actually go to? Oh yeah, we're actually live on X.
Oh, that's cool.
Actually went to X.
Hi X, how are you?
Yeah, and there's no video. It's just audio.
Audio. It's all right. We'll live.
Well, we called it beta for a reason.
This is a learning experience, motherfuckers. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So we should definitely talk about what's going to happen here. Eventually, we're going to have video up. That would be nice.
That would be nice.
We're going to be recording these and live streaming them, so we can put the recordings up somewhere.
Yeah,
and
if
we're
did we really go to YouTube? YouTube, I think, is also. I think I borked everything, but oh no, it says we're live now. Yeah, but there's no video.
You said it's a Riverside thing. You said Riverside did not record video.
No, I think because I streamed in 1080, it's not showing our video.
Valid. Okay. Well, we can test.
Yep.
So we already do a news show, so we don't want to do another news show.
No.
But we do want to talk about.
There's definitely some times where we may want to cover some of the news that was cool.
True.
We didn't get to on the other show.
True, but I think that dude, I've got to ask this. Have you seen Dinosaur Time?
Nope.
There's this thing. I don't know if it's only TikTok or whatever, but people are doing Dinosaur Time. Like, if you don't really like green vegetables, okay, if you don't really like leafy things, but you need to eat them because you're actually with this magic thing called an adult, and you have to eat greens.
I think I see where this is going.
We do Dinosaur Time. I'm like, what the fuck is Dinosaur Time? You grab a handful, stuff it in your mouth, make dinosaur noises.
Oh, I've seen clips of that. Yeah.
And they have their kids doing it too. And we did it to our kids the other day. We're like, Dinosaur Time! And my little ones went, yeah! Handed them a handful of spinach. And they're, no. They absolutely fucking loved it. So, Dinosaur Time. So, your salad made that memory come up. I'm sorry. But, yeah, I think we can do a little bit of, we can talk about what's going on. And I'm fascinated to talk about some of the things happening. I had a lovely session last night with a whole group of compliance whack jobs like me. talking about CMMC and oh, so Macro's on the Riverside app and he can see us.
Yeah, so the Riverside live stream is video working.
Okay, good. But we talked about CMMC and what the government's going to do, and that was interesting, seeing the different perspectives and viewpoints of a whole group of compliance whack jobs like myself about even a single standard. This is not exactly news, but it's fascinating seeing how people interpret the same words very differently depending on their point of view. And God almighty. And I know I've used this example 100 times, but ask 20 pen testers what a pen test is, and they'll tell you 20 different answers.
Yep.
Are you working on the PTES standard still?
We're trying to. It's tough because all of us are busy, but we're trying to.
Right.
Yeah, we have commit access to PTES, so we're going to be changing the PTES standard. We're going to add the definition of what is a pen test, or how to define the pen test that you're going to do. We want to talk about the definition of words like continuous compliance, continuous security. We want to discuss what automated pen testing is versus what I call it, which is an exploitability scanner currently. I don't think it's an automated pen test. I think it's an exploitability scanner, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. A vulnerability scanner is a useful tool. An exploitability scanner is a useful tool. But to do a pen test, you need a person.
Sorry, it also went to Facebook with the same issue. But there's subtitles on Facebook, which is interesting.
Yo soy Dora.
And it's live, which is awesome. I mean, we made progress, but I mean, before all of our destinations weren't working. Now all our destinations are working.
Just no video.
Just no video.
Okay, so
Improvements.
Yep. Progress
is good. So I don't know, like you guys both work in a lot of the firmware worlds and OT worlds. What terms are misinterpreted in those worlds? I'm honestly curious. Or interpreted differently, not necessarily misinterpreted.
I think hardware and firmware are interpreted differently.
The words, hardware and firmware.
Well, because I think people will say, "Oh, Paul, you work for like a hardware security company." I'm like, well, I mean, not really.
Okay.
And what one of our founders and our CEO Yuri, right? So Yuri at one point made it a point to say, like, look, hardware is really just a paperweight until it has software that enables it to do something.
Right.
So really what we do is we help secure the firmware. Now, there are hardware-based attacks. And so two things on hardware-based attacks. And a lot of people, like, again, get these confused. True hardware-based attacks are the solar panel farm. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No, what happened?
It didn't come across either of your desks? Oh my god, my internal Slack was blowing up with it.
Not really.
So let me dig that up.
Oh, you're talking about the article about the Chinese chips and the inverters.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I can't find any technical details on that one. I looked very quickly.
I mean, I've been studying solar power because I intend on building a solar farm here just for the house. So I can tell you what's going on. In the last few years, I mean, this is supposition, let's be clear. But in the last few years, they've been changing how sophisticated the inverters are. Now, let's be clear. The solar panels through photovoltaic create electricity. The electricity travels down wires into, some of them travel into a string inverter, which then sends the electricity that's generated over to batteries or the grid or whatever. But the charge controller is in front of the batteries. The battery management system is in front of the batteries to make sure the batteries don't explode, because you can do that, dangerous shit. But the inverters that are used inside the solar panels, because there's another inverter. The other inverters out of the battery comes typically 12 volt or 24, 48, whatever volt DC. The inverter transposes, what's the right word? Converts it from 48 volt DC to 120 volt AC or 240 volt AC. So you can use it in your house, so you can use it in your sub panel, whatever. But the inverters on the panels are there to basically sort of smooth the power and make it so that it is a usable piece of power for the batteries of the grid. Okay, so far so good?
That makes sense, yep.
Those inverters in the last few years have become significantly more sophisticated to the point that due to regulation, due to net metering, a lot of different reasons, to the point that they actually, some of them are so bound to the manufacturer that they have to call back to the manufacturer before they'll turn on. So
So
it is typical
it
to
says
have them
here
on.
that they discovered undocumented devices, including cellular radios, identified in solar power inverters, batteries, electric vehicle chargers, and heat pumps produced by several Chinese suppliers.
Yeah. So that's the kicker is if it calls back to the manufacturer, like Enphase, I think it is one of them that if you don't have them connected up to the internet, it won't configure properly. It won't work. It'll actually shut down, which is
Right.
like, well, I wanted to be off grid. No, you still need to have internet.
Yeah.
So you got to be
And
careful. Sorry?
yeah. And the question I've got really sort of about that article is, how do they mean like undocumented cellular modems?
Right. Like maybe the cellular modem is part of the design
It's possible,
to get
but
updates for it. You know, this could be like the patient monitoring system where we thought there was a back door in it, but it turned out it was just like a really poor design. This could be a similar kind of thing where it's just part of the design that isn't really disclosed or whatever.
it's possible. I will tell you, it wouldn't surprise me. The amount of people that are putting solar on their houses, on their businesses, the percentage of energy used on renewables is going up drastically, and we get almost all of that from China.
Right.
So it's a huge. Assume that they added cellular radios to 20% of the stuff coming in from China. If they just say turn off, that is a huge, huge smack to the U.S. I mean, you could make the U.S. really bad really quickly. Can you imagine if
See,
all the power turned off in Detroit?
now it's saying it's not recording video at all.
No, it was saying that. It said that when
Yeah.
I joined that it's not recording local video.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
only took us 52 minutes to realize.
Okay.
We
It's a
can
beta.
restart it, but yeah.
It's a beta. We're good. We'll end in a couple minutes. So it's interesting. I mean, so I'm actually probably going to be buying a used a solar setup in the next few months. That you can pick them up on Facebook Marketplace for not that much money.
Hmm.
Um, I've got one that I'm honestly thinking about with a 12,000 watt inverter and a sub panel already built and 10 gauge wire and all that kind of stuff for like $750 with like 30 panels. They're only 180 watt panels. They're old, but hey, that's you know, it's not 20 grand.
Yeah, so hardware backdoors, right, would fall into those categories. So there's the
Right.
Bloomberg article,
The grains of rice article. Yeah.
the grains of rice. There's the cranes, right? Was that cranes on loading docks that
Oh
they
yeah, yeah,
found
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
cellular
Yep.
modems? And then there's this article about, well, it said more than just solar panels, right?
Well, inverters, panels, batteries,
Batteries,
EV
EV
chargers.
chargers. But I feel like some of that might be on purpose to update firmware,
Well, I mean,
right?
okay, so but wait, why would you put a cellular radio in to update firmware?
Well, how else are you
Maybe
gonna
some
get
of
updates
these,
here?
yeah, maybe some of these don't have a network. I mean, if you got a solar farm out in the
You
middle of nowhere,
pretty
right?
much all have Wi-Fi. And if you have a solar farm in the middle of nowhere, you probably don't have cellular right, either.
No,
True.
you're more
Man,
likely to
more likely,
more
yeah.
likely to have cellular than like Wi-Fi or something of the like.
Valid, valid, valid.
And to do automatic updates. Another one, like I think about my solar, um, that if we were quote off grid and didn't have internet and those types of things, um, to be able to do management, to gather statistics, you know, it's the Internet of Things. Like these things want to be connected to the internet so that I can take my app and I go, oh yeah, no, it's being really efficient today, or it's offline, something's broken. Like doing those types of things would be incredible helpful for a solar for some of that type of stuff. But Why my crane needs to be connected to the internet, I'm not exactly sure. It's probably the same reasons why my combine and my grain harvester need to be connected to the internet as well.
Well, remember, John Deere, if your tractor isn't connected to the internet, it won't run
Right?
because they want to track your
Exactly.
usage.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's.
Yeah,
I wonder.
I can't find any great information about this solar panel thing. Like, I want to know who discovered it, how they discovered it. Did they monitor the communications? Did they pull
Yep.
the firmware from them or whatever, right? There needs to be more proof when we claim these things. Like, oh my god, there's a back door. But there has to be you have to do the due diligence to prove that it's a back door before you go out and start making headlines.
Oh shit! I didn't realize this. So I'm checking there's a discussion on Reddit Solar, and they're like all of them have cellular radios because they want to shut off your stuff if you're behind on your lease.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I think these are there by design. Now, whether or not they're, and this is back to my previous point, whether or not they're being used or could be used as a back door requires more investigation.
Oh wow! Somebody said that they found the manufacturer wouldn't let him have individual panel statistics, so he found a vulnerability to let me gain full shell access into my Enphase Envoy, so I can access that data. And
Yeah,
when he was on there, he found software on it that allows them to remote into the Envoy at any point, even tunneling through NAT, and have full control over it, snoop around in my home network, anything they want.
wow. So yeah,
That's
that's the kind of
interesting.
research
Okay.
we need.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Publish an advisory. Publish something. Like, just don't FUD. Like, prove it. Show your work. I mean,
Right.
I like that. Yeah, we're talking about this type of stuff, but maybe I'm getting bitter in my old age. But like, great, just putting this thing on the internet, like saying you can do this thing. Like, well, prove it. Like, I hate to say that I want to fact check you, but I want to fact check you
Right.
because I ain't got time for.
Shenanigans.
Oh,
I don't have
Yeah.
time for shenanigans like this. Like,
Yep.
is this a real threat or not?
Right.
Now it's work on us to determine if it's a real threat or not.
Right. Right.
I'm gonna have to get some. Apparently, somebody says they're separate, hidden, undocumented radios, but I don't know that that's the case.
Separate and hidden. How are they
Un,
hidden?
I don't know. Undocumented
They would
radio.
have to apply for an FCC, right? Do they?
Yeah,
Radio
probably.
communications,
but
right?
then yep, they probably do. And I'm not positive if the cellular module itself has already received FCC identification. I don't know if the controller would need to.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's
So
a
they
good
can
point.
put that radio in something else without filing for a separate
Yep,
FCC ID.
they may. I'm not sure. I'm not positive. I'm not sure how that works.
So Bunny Huang gave a keynote at Black Hat Asia that talked about this particular problem, and I'm trying to get a hold of that talk. If you guys
Is it-
know a way for me to get a hold of that talk, but I've been
Did you
just
hit
gently
Doug Hansen up?
asking. I've been gently asking around.
Ask Jeff.
I should. No, he doesn't do anything with Black Hat anymore.
He's still got connections.
Connections, yeah.
And have you hit up Bunny?
Like, yeah, I need to email Bunny.
Bunny. I mean, I think they give them. I spoke at Black Hat DC many years ago when they still had it, and they offered me a copy of my talk like minutes later.
Right. Yeah, like outside, like I'm not gonna rebroadcast. I want it for my own information.
Well, at the very least, say, "Hey, Bunny, can I get your slides?"
Yeah. So, that's kind of slides are weird. I don't gain a lot of information from slides.
And then
Yeah.
then say, "Hey, you want to talk? Can you explain it to me?" Whatever.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Because Black Hat USA talks came out not that long ago on YouTube, and I still have a note to go back and watch like Bill Demercopy's bootloader talk, which is oddly relevant today. All the problems in Grub and all that stuff.
Apparently, there's major power companies that when they build their solar farms, they're not allowing inverters from SunGrow and BYD, and there's a few other brands coming from
I
China.
saw that.
India or Spain is where they're sourcing their inverters from now.
Interesting. Yeah, I think they changed the source. But again, it goes back to it's really hard to find hardware backdoors.
If they're done properly, it's very hard to find.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you're right. The firmware, some of those backdoors are a bitch to find. I mean, we go back to the days when, do you remember, oh God, 20 years ago? When the NSA was intercepting Cisco shipments
Yes.
Yep, I remember those.
and putting poison firmware on them? And not poison, but like hacked firmware and with
Backdoor.
Tampering
Backdoor
with the firmware.
firmware.
Tailored.
Yeah.
Backdoor firmware, yeah.
Well, that's why signature validation is so important. But
Who does
if
that?
well, a lot of people, some do, some don't. But if someone has the key, it's basically you can modify the firmware if you have the key,
Yeah.
and keys leak.
No.
Hopefully they're not shared with governments. That's like the Clipper chip, right? Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, that was a good, interesting one. And I think that illustrates your point about hardware versus firmware. If those hardware attacks were in there, but wouldn't they, wait, but I've got a question for you. Let's assume you've got a hidden undocumented cellular radio in the hardware, right?
Yeah.
Don't you have to have a line in the firmware that says, activate 72
Yeah.
hours after you start up or
I
something?
mean, unless it's independent, kind of like a BMC, right? A BMC is usually an ARM chip that runs Linux that's independent not only of the operating system, but independent of all the other hardware components.
Oh,
Because it
one
has
of the
to
mini
be,
computers
right?
inside the
Has to
computer. Yeah.
make an interface for me to connect to as an admin to go, I want to rebuild this server remotely. It has to be independent. I know it has tentacles into the rest of the hardware to be able to control it, but
Okay, so then the question is that how do you find something that is at that level?
right, that you don't know it's like a BMC, we know this model server has this BMC, and from the operating system, I can use utilities to query the BMC and get certain types of information in most cases.
Right.
If the hardware that's included is not documented anywhere, I don't know what I'm looking for, right? So that could be tricky. It may not have anything. It may be just like an independent system that's not documented and that we're not anticipating. So that could be hard to find.
That's gonna be tough, man.
Yeah. Well, it also, kind of question about the not documented hardware too, especially when we go back to this whole cellular modem thing. You know, I wonder what we really mean by documented hardware, like how it talks it. What are the manuals for these things? Do they say that they have?
Right.
Like, are they just not reading properly? Did they miss it? I don't know.
Can you define the word "is," please?
Exactly, because all depending on what your definition of the word is, right?
But this is a great. If you really truly want to detect backdoors, hardware backdoors, such as cellular modems, you want like what remember Pony Express back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. I want to know about any radio communications that shouldn't be there. Or if it changes. I want to know what radio frequencies I'm identifying today. Now I put a solar panel, some kind of solar thing in. All of a sudden there's new radio frequencies. I'm like, whoa, wait. That corresponded to the point in time where I put this solar thing in place.
Right.
And now all of a sudden I'm seeing new cellular traffic. I don't know if you could identify new cellular traffic, though. That's the hard part with cellular in particular. Probably why we're speculating it's a backdoor, because it's, someone's on their cell phone. That's normal. Oh, there's a cellular modem in the solar panel. That's going to look like the same traffic.
They will.
Or same
But,
radio communications that you're.
but I mean, if you're using some kind of signal detector, a signal hound or something or whatever, to find that type of transmission, you can't. It's encrypted. It's fairly low power these days. But you could see it, and you could correlate it to distance. You could DX and get two legs of a triangulation and say it's right there in my back fucking yard, right by the solar panel, and there's nobody there at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
It's probably the solar panels. But the amount of people that have the knowledge, ability, and hardware to do that is on this call and some other calls we could make.
Right.
Well, there's actually ham radio enthusiasts that could do it, but I don't think they have the equipment for cellular frequency.
There's also people that
Oh,
can
yeah.
reverse engineer the hardware and tell you
Totally.
if it's in there, but that's not. This is one of the things I talk about with hardware security. We don't always have the resources to do all of this. So let's say I'm acquiring some new solar panels. Well, have Paul or Larry or a number of other people rip the thing open, inspect, take pictures of all the hardware, identify all the chips.
Pay them the
Pull,
$10,000 it costs
yeah,
for their time to do it.
yeah. I mean, reversing is very time-consuming and tedious task, and some organizations do have dedicated teams, usually like a team of one, that isn't doing this work and inspecting, the hardware.
Hmm.
So
And back to some of the stuff that I do at my day job. This is where we're now starting to see um, a little bit more push of an effort for devices to include a hardware bill of materials.
right, we talked about that on
Mhm.
Below Surface. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
another initiative I'm working on, or I'm helping out.
me too.
Um,
How about that?
we'll talk.
we should invite Larry to the party.
I
It's
think I have, but um,
specifically, I am, hold on, working with the folks over at OWASP Cyclone DX.
Oh, interesting. We definitely need
And
Larry at the table now.
yeah,
and specifically Steve Springett.
okay, I know those people, good people.
Yep.
I think that I need to introduce you to the group I'm working with, which I can't name right at the moment,
Hmm. Hmm.
because
Think about who works on bills of materials a lot that used to work for CISA.
still does.
And
Still
still,
does.
okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm not naming him.
So,
I have had maybe similar conversations with said individual, but maybe
we should
not
all hang out together.
not specifically at the table maybe for that conversation, but some very much
You
off the
need to be at
record
the table,
stuff.
and
Yep.
I'll make that happen. That's not a problem. But
And if it's the same individual that I think it is, then he knows me quite well.
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I want the fact that you're already involved with that means that he's working this more on the policy side
Mhm.
and the governmental side, and only a little bit in the technical side.
Right.
But he's the right person to do that.
Hmm.
But see, if we had this process in place, we would know before we purchased these solar panels that it went through some level of validation and they had cellular modems in them.
And you'd also know, by the way, the idea here is that you'd also know, as a corollary of this, it's a different category on the H bomb. But the idea here is, and they sat on the dock in China for 4 weeks when they weren't supposed
Yes.
to be in China at all.
It'd also
I
be
bought
nice
this
to
in
know
India. Why the
what
fuck were they in China?
it'd also be nice to have a descriptor field that goes, yes, it has this component, and here's how we use this component at a high
Right.
level, right?
Right. And
The
every
cellular
single
modems
piece of
here
hardware,
to maintain remote access and apply firmware updates from the manufacturer, and can it be disabled or enabled by the user? It would be
right.
stuff I would want to know.
And so it becomes trivial at that point to rip it open and go, yep, everything that's supposed to be on there is on there. Now you can do
But
things.
what we need is like a UL for this process that certifies it. That says,
Right.
look, took the H bomb from the manufacturer, we took it in a lab, and we looked at it and we compared what they told us was in it and what it was used for, and we validated that, and it gets a stamp that says, yes, this solar panel thing, H bomb matches what the manufacturer says,
And you can
which
still
is
screw
which
them.
is nice because it's not malleable like firmware or software.
Right.
This is the hardware, and it shouldn't change. It
Shouldn't
should be like a
shouldn't.
one-time certification process for that hardware.
Well, I mean, as Paul, as you and I know it, for every model
But
or SKU that will
it could
change,
change.
and,
It could-
and there could be some minor variations and changes.
Yes.
I will
Yeah.
say exactly. The device that we use a Bluetooth Low Energy adapter in the SANS 556 class, and we have all documentation for the lab written for this one specific. When you plug it in, VMware says connect this device because it's based on Cambridge Silicon radio chipset. And guess what? The manufacturer of that Bluetooth Low Energy adapter changed chipsets, and now it's different. It's the same product, it's the same SKU, but the internals actually changed.
Right.
Works the same.
Well, we've seen that with OEMs too.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
And I think we talked about that, right? You pay more to get the Dell. I'm not picking on Dell, but because they all have been through this, and I believe all have programs where you go, I want this model, and I want it to all have the same components. And Dell goes and buys hundreds of thousands of them and makes sure they all have the same components, and that's what I deploy in my environment, so there's no variance.
Yeah, I mean, same sort of thing with something like one of the guys that I watch on YouTube, Joey Does Tech. He repairs broken stuff off of eBay
Right.
and so forth.
Right.
Like PlayStation 5s. He's like, yeah, pull apart a PlayStation 5, and there's like 12 different actual models of the
Oh,
same
yeah.
device because
Really?
they have changed
The supply
hardware
chain. Yep.
over time based on supply chain, what's available for
Oh
memory
yeah, okay.
memory
So
manufacturers.
it's not 12 at the same time. It's they had one, and then this manufacturer
Yep.
ran out of that chip.
Yep.
So
Yep.
they, yeah, got it. Okay. I mean, that's the same thing we talked about the other day about Dell and HP. HP says we're going to build 1 million of these laptops. They buy 1 million network cards, 1 million motherboards, 1 million. The hardware is consistent all the way through.
Yep.
Dell says we're going to make 1 million of these, we think, and they buy 10,000 network cards. When those run out, they're like, can we get 10,000 more? Oh, you stopped making those. What? Okay, fine. What's the next compatible version? And they buy 10,000 more, but they're different. So there's a lot of, H-bombs are possible, but awkward sometimes.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting.
For sure.
A lamp really doesn't change hardware. Computers
Right.
often do.
And it's funny, Paul. I think I love that you brought up about the validation of the hardware versus what's actually in the product. But like in the same breath, like who does that on the software bill of material side? There is
Yeah.
no validation.
We don't get
it's
an
all-
we don't get. There's no stamp. Right. You're right. It's the same
Yep.
thing. If I say
There's
this
no-
is my software, there's no
Yeah, this is my software because I said so. Like I hate to
other
say
than
it.
Larry and I's day job software. That's
Right.
kind of where we're going, right?
Right. And, I mean, and there's also sort of no concept or very little concept of a signed software bill of materials.
Right.
Like, hey, we had this tool, it was generated and it was signed, and it hasn't been modified since it was generated through some automated process.
Right.
But even then, what's to say that I don't generate a software bill of material, I delete a bunch of stuff I don't want people to know about, and then I regenerate the signature and update that. But it's I mean, there's no independent validation that what you have produced is correct.
Yeah. Have I taken an upstream open source and modified that, and have I updated the SBOM, integrated the SBOM too? It's something
why
that
you-
I've seen, like OpenBMC.
Yep. That's what
You can
that's
build
why
it
you
via-
need to automate it.
Yeah, you
That's
can
why
build
you
it
need to
via
automate
Yocto, and it produces a bill of materials. But most
Yep.
people customize the OpenBMC, so I need a new bill of materials. But you have to make sure you update it correctly. Like,
Yep.
what if if I didn't want that component from OpenBMC, maybe I replaced it with a different component. Maybe I just took a patch. Maybe I didn't update it. Right? Maybe OpenBMC had an older OpenSSL library,
Mhm.
and I patched it, and so now you have that interesting thing where I have to release what I patched and what was the patch, and it gets complicated.
Yep. This is why integrating SBOM generation into your build pipeline
Yes.
is. Oh, I could go on for days about
It's
that.
Oh, don't even get me started on this stuff.
And it's tricky.
It's so
and
useful.
I think we can get the patches into that SBOM too. I've spoken with people about that.
Yeah, you can put a patch in an SBOM.
Yeah.
It's a supplemental.
You can say, supplemental. I backported a fix for this CVE and stick that in an SBOM. So that
Yeah.
when we analyze it, we go, oh, you're running this version OpenSSL, it's vulnerable. And then we check the SBOM and we go, oh, no, wait. The SBOM says it's been patched. But then you have to, theoretically, you should then validate that. Is it really vulnerable? Is it not? That's where gets hairy.
That's the
Yeah,
problem.
Did
and that's why
did the
manufacturers.
patch really fix the issue? Did just patching this issue break something else?
Where did it introduce vulnerabilities? Did it close vulnerabilities? Did it? And that's why manufacturers have a real problem with SBOMs and HBOMs, is because it exposes the shortcomings of their systems.
Right.
If you add a patch to a piece of software, and then you immediately update the SBOM, congrats, good on you. And then somebody goes, but wait a minute, now they know you updated it, and it's not just release notes. You have very detailed notes in there as to what was changed. They go, this is a problem, and here's why. And it's almost Linux-like in its detail.
Mm-hmm.
The Manjaro release notes, like you said, are oh my god, and they allow you to see how badly it's going to fuck your stuff up.
Right.
And so you've got to be able to. Well, we should talk about cursing. Are we going to do that on this one or not? So
About what now?
YouTube will demonetize cursing, I think.
Really?
I think so. So we may
Oh,
want
you
to.
know, I've seen that on Instagram Reels where they like bleep out all the swears and they edit them out of the
Transcript.
subtitle, the
Transcripts.
Yeah,
transcripts. Yeah.
Mm.
we may want to talk about that. Sorry, just totally random thought.
No, no,
Forgive me.
no. I've
But
seen that.
it's awkward because if you give somebody the roadmap to the vulnerabilities that you're adding by patching, by doing this, by doing that, by doing the other thing, are you reducing your reputation and your ability to sell?
Right.
I mean, in the open source world, we love transparency and openness and honesty, except maybe to our spouses. But that was a joke, honey. Don't kill me. Uh, but in the commercial world, it's ugly.
For sure.
So, YouTube demonetization is so weird. You can't swear in the first X minutes of the video, and you can only swear Y numbers of time. Oh my God! I need a countdown. I have this many craps left, this many cruds left.
Literally this many fucks to give.
Oh, that's the F
You know what?
bomb.
Now you know what we need to do. We need to have ChatGPT create something that can listen to us in real time to find that, and
Yeah.
we have the F's to give meter on the live stream.
Right.
Oh God. Oh God.
You know,
Then the question is, what's the definition? What is the definition of is right? What's considered a swear?
Well, so along those lines,
Yet.
one of my squirrel moments this week was I was
I
like
know.
talking about AI and LLMs. I'm like, if I were to take all 800 something episodes of Paul Security Weekly, I'm like, I could use an LLM locally to transcribe all of that, right? And then I could take all that data, put it in an LLM, and train a model so that we could ask it questions. Then I would have an instance of a model that we could query and go, when did Paul? Well, and then getting who's speaking that's hard. But like, when did one of the hosts talk about Screen, right? Because remember we covered Screen recently,
Yep.
and I had that text segment on Screen. Dude, I couldn't even begin to find those clips somewhere. But if we trained a model,
So the question is, why do you need to train a local? Why do you need to train a local model? Why couldn't it be a public one? It's not as if that
Be
any of the
expensive.
I mean, it's not like any of the content
No, I
out
agree.
there is restricted, private, proprietary. It's all published on the internet for free. So
it would cost money. I think Jordan Harbinger does it. If you go to Jordan Harbinger's site, he at one time had an AI that you could ask questions. And it was primarily centered around, hey, like, show me all the episodes that talk about this topic kind of thing. Or what was the episode where he interviewed someone on this topic?
Well,
And
I
he
mean-
was probably not his own model. This was years ago. He was using a service to do that. Remember, Josh, you had friends that would ingest all of your content and create
Oh yeah.
a searchable thing. But this
Yes,
was before
yes.
the LLM thing blew up.
It was that was agglomerated nesting, and that was a different type of.
Different
Technically,
type.
it's AI.
It was before LLMs became
Yes,
popular.
yes, it was before ChatGPT. There's so many different types of AI. Computer vision is an AI, CV,
Sure.
OpenCV and stuff, but it's not LLM. LLM democratized AI. It's not the first version of it. I mean, I've been using AI since 2004.
Yeah. So when I asked, ironically, an LLM to tell me how to do this, it said you want to use WhisperX. And WhisperX is an open AI model, and it says it's diarized transcription. Then it said to use Pionnote.audio, which does speaker identification, and then a local LLM, Mistral 7B, Llama 3, or YI34B for post-processing. And then it gave me instructions on how to do it.
Jesus.
But the article I read of someone who was doing it gave some stats about like how long it took. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, I guess this would depend on how fast your system is, right?
Oh, hey, you can install WhisperX through PyPy
Yeah.
with how many vulnerabilities?
Yeah, right. It gave stats in here about how. Oh, here it is. So it works fast enough. I think it was just speaker identification was 15 minutes per 35 to 40 minute long episode. So multiply that out times however many hundreds of hours we have. It's a long time. If only I knew someone that had some H100 or A100 clusters floating around to run this on. Then you could cut that time down. And back to your point, Josh, right, that you helped me understand. Once you train the model, that's the heavy lifting.
That's done. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Now, the only problem is as you want it to do more functions or as you, you know, uh, have better data to train it with, then you got to retrain it.
What if you wanted to give it a new podcast episode? You wouldn't have to retrain the whole
No,
model.
no, God,
you could
no.
just add, you could just say, "Hey, go get the latest episode and bring it into the system."
That's
right?
data to answer questions with, not data on how to answer questions.
Yes, yes. So you could keep
So-
that going with some kind of background script.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you literally just get a curl or a wget or something
Right.
to grab the episode, and or something equivalent depending on how
Yeah.
it's stored.
And the reason for the local model is this would cost a lot of money if I were to use other people's services to do it.
Yeah, I mean, legitimately, it's a space heater of a server.
Right.
So if that was
Moving
an
forward wouldn't be bad. We could say, "Hey, just grab the latest episode, pay for that, transcribe, do the thing."
Right.
But to get the whole archive in there is so much data.
kind of ugly, yeah, yeah. If you want, if you, we figured it out. Like there are services that will do transcription, and they do it by the minute,
Yes.
and you normally figure on like $1 or $2 a minute.
Oof.
It's a
So
lot.
some places were down to 60 cents, but this is years ago. I don't know how it is
A
now.
lot of podcasters are doing it locally today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're using
Oh,
online
good.
services and they're transitioning.
Hmm.
Some of the podcasts I listen to talk in this article is from a guy that has a podcast and is like, "Here's how I transcribe everything."
And he uses a local LLM to do it?
Yeah.
That's not stupid. Look, just okay. So philosophical point. Most companies go to the cloud for flexibility.
I can't
Once
put
they stabilize their workload, they come home because bring it back on-prem because the cloud is very expensive. If you have stable workloads, then you don't need auto-scaling. Bring it home. It's a hell of a
Right.
lot less expensive to run your own data center. Oh no, it's more expensive to run your own data center. No, it's not. Once you buy the systems, it's a lot cheaper than in the cloud.
Yeah.
So
So I
You
just
know,
need
it's-
like another 4090 in my system in the studio.
it's the same idea though. Once you buy the 4090 or the 50 whatever 5090,
If you can find a
And
5090, that's the
if you
problem.
can find one, yeah. And once you buy enough 4090s or Teslas or whatever the hell you're using, it's sunk cost. Everything else after
Yeah.
that is just some electricity and heat.
Right.
And if you build a stable workflow, again, stable workflow, I do this, I do this, I do this, and boom, it comes out with transcribed. It's cheap
Right.
as opposed to running an LLM in AWS, which costs you, I don't even know how much they
I
cost
don't
now.
know. I feel like
But
it's more expensive.
there's money there. And
Yeah.
and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Hmm.
it gets very expensive. So I will have to transcribe with local AI. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, this is that guy's article.
I'm my own web designer and administrator. Nice. And transcripts are hard. Oh, people don't get this. Like it's just the words you said.
No,
Yeah.
it's interpretation and then identification of speaker is the
Yes.
hard part with transitions, right? Or transcriptions because if I found an old clip, I'd want to know who was talking and then transcription and then you can query on that. Tell me the times Larry or Josh talked about this, right?
Tell me how many times Larry had a beer. Tell me how many times Paul had a beer.
Oh
Nice.
yeah, well then we can analyze the drunken versions of ourselves versus the sober versions of ourselves.
Oh, this is cool. RoboScribe?
I
That-
don't is that it? Yeah. He
For-
built the
so-
tool called RoboScribe.
No. It
or
was
implemented it.
he implemented it. Yeah, it's open source and on GitHub, and it produces a diarized. What diarized means is it separates the speakers. So that's the speaker separator.
Yeah. Okay.
With WhisperX, cleans up the transcript.
With the help of an LLM.
Yeah, and so he's
got some GPUs. Looks like.
let's see, AMD Ryzen 9 5950 16-core CPU, 64 gigs of RAM, and two 3090s. So it's not that bad.
No.
Where did you guys post this article?
Oh, in the chat for
Which chat?
Riverside.
Riverside Stream Chat.
Oh, there it is down there. Ah, yeah, I see it.
That's pretty cool. Transcribing the audio, aligning, so it's 3 steps: transcribing the audio, aligning the transcription. So that's the exact timing for every segment, because you need to have the words come out at the same time as the words come out, if you will. And diarization, identifying and assigning speaker labels. That's okay. I got to give him credit. That's pretty freaking cool, dude. That's pretty freaking cool. Huh. Oh, oh my God, he's returning his output in JSON.
Yeah, and then he feeds the JSON into the LLM as the data.
Wow. All right, this dude is smart. This dude is smart. Like I'm.
Yeah, because I feel like training neural models is hard today.
It's definitely not easy. Yeah. It's definitely not easy. That's pretty cool. All right. Oh wow, we're about done.
We are
We should probably think about wrapping up.
coming up on time. I'm so mad the video didn't go. Hey,
This is
everything
beta.
else working
This
great.
is a beta.
Yeah, still in beta. Well, we'll wrap up the Hacker Syndicate beta live stream. Again, apologies for the video, but we're still working on it, and hopefully we can get things going next week. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Now, hey, Larry can take us out.
Oh, we got to find something different for this show.
Yes,
Okay,
we do.
yeah, I agree.
Hey, we'll see you next time.
Thanks everyone.